Next time you're found with your chin on the ground, there's a lot to be learned, so look around. Just what makes that little old ant think he'll move that rubber tree plant? Anyone knows an ant can't move a rubber tree plant, but he's got high hopes. He's got high hopes. He's got high apple pie in the sky. Hope so. Anytime you're feeling low, instead of letting go, just remember that ant. Whoops, there goes another rubber tree plant.
Whoops, there goes another rubber tree plant.
Whoops, there goes another rubber tree plant. When troubles call and your back's to the wall, there's a lot to be learned. That wall could fall. Once there was a silly old ram, thought he'd punch a hole in a dam. No one could make that ram scram. He kept butting that dam 'cause he had high hopes. He had high hopes. He had high apple pie in the sky. Hope so. Anytime you're feeling bad, instead of feeling sad, just remember that ram. Whoops, there goes a billion kilowatt dam.
Whoops, there goes another kilowatt
Whoops,
dam.
there goes a billion kilowatt dam. So keep your high hopes. Keep your high hopes. Keep your high apple pie in the sky. Hopes are problems, just a toy balloon. They'll be bursting soon. They're just bound to go pop. Whoops, there goes another problem, kerplop.
Whoops, there goes another problem.
Whoops, there goes another problem, kerplop. Kerplop.
Plop, plop, plop.
Oh, my gosh, I've had high hopes for so many years I could hear Kent Rautenstrauss sing. Tonight, it has come true. Isn't that fun? As you might have noticed, it's the Jennifer Burnett and Kent Rautenstrauss show tonight. They are performing all of the music for us. What a delight that's going to be. So thank you, Kent and Jennifer, for getting us started with High Hopes, a great song. And we are welcoming you to this wonderful service this evening. It is Wednesday, November 11th. That means that, first of all, we want you to know that it's Veterans Day. I'm sure most of you already know that, but we want you to know that we acknowledge that. We are celebrating, honoring our veterans, saying thank you so much for your service. We have many in our community, many in our world, many in our country, and so we just say thank you so much. Happy Veterans Day. And as we step into this service even more together, I invite you just to take a deep breath with me and open yourself to receiving of great good. It's a great opportunity for us to gather together and to experience inspiration through the music and the message of Reverend Linda Rengel this evening, and a prayer time. So much good is here. And I want to share before we begin my very favorite quote from the poet Rumi. And he tells us, out beyond all ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, there is a field. I will meet you there. And I've always loved that image of that field, and I stand in that field as I pray, and I stand in that field as I speak, and I stand in that field as I move through my life, and as I go to the grocery store, and as I work online. I stand in that field that is out beyond all ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, and I invite you to stand in that field with me this evening as we prepare to step into our beautiful service together. Once again, thank you so much for being here, and I invite you now to sit back, relax, continue to take the deep breaths in and out, and hear some more music from Jennifer and Kent.
Thank you, Dr. Michelle. So as she said, today is Veterans Day, And so when Kent and I talked and we were putting this program together, we wanted to do a song that was specifically for veterans. You know, I'm such a patriot. And like on Sunday when we do the Armed Forces medley, I'm in tears the entire time through those songs and seeing the people who, when we have people here and the congregants are here and when everyone stands for their branch of the military, it just moves me. It moves me. It warms my heart. And you know, I so appreciate the veterans in my family and in my life. My father was a veteran and is a veteran. And I have cousins who also went into the military and many, many friends. And do you have people in your life, Kent?
I do. I have a nephew who was in the military, and I think of my father-in-law. He's closer to 100 than 99, Ted. He lives in Fort Collins, and he was in the second wave of Normandy. And we still have his canteen that has a bullet hole, which saved his life. The bullet hole went through the canteen instead of his body. And just a few days ago, Kathleen, my wife, and her sister Melinda, for the first time during this COVID, they were able to go into his room. Now, he's been able to come outside. He's up in Fort Collins in skilled nursing. And they spent 2 hours with Ted. It was right after the election, and one of the sisters, either my wife or her sister, said, "Dad, why don't we sing America the Beautiful?" And here's this 99-year-old man in his hospital bed or in his skilled nursing bed singing with this pretty strong bass voice, America the Beautiful, with his daughters. And he's the ultimate patriot. But he's one of those guys who on his car had Veterans for Peace, which is a strong statement. Veterans for Peace.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you showed me a piece of that video, and it was very moving to see Kathleen and Melinda, her sister, and Ted all singing together. It was just a moving moment. So we want to do this song for you. This is one of my favorites. I love doing it every year. You usually do it on the 4th of July service, but we thought it would be a really good one in honor of veterans this evening. We've been given by those who came before, the dream of a nation where freedom would endure, the work and prayers of centuries have brought us to this day. What shall be our legacy? What will our children say? Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. Each generation, from the plains to distant shores, with the gifts that they were given, were determined to leave more. Battles fought together, acts of conscience fought alone. These are the seeds from which America has grown. Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. For those who think they have nothing to share, who fear in their hearts there is no hero there, and know each quiet act of dignity is that which fortifies the soul of a nation that will never die. Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. America, I gave my best to you.
Beautiful, Jennifer.
Thanks, Kent. Amen, right? Amen. So this song is directly for the message this evening. The title of the message is Reflecting Our Hope. And this song reminds us that we all look for the best for and in each other. So I hope you always choose to play full out. I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. You get your fill to eat, but always keep that hunger. May you never take one single breath for granted. God forbid love ever leave you empty-handed. I hope you still feel small when you stand beside the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. Promise me that you'll give faith a fighting chance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you never fear those mountains in the distance. Never settle for the path of least resistance. Living might mean taking chances, but they're worth taking. Loving might be a mistake, but it's worth making. Don't let some helping heart leave you bitter. When you come close to selling out, reconsider. Give the heavens above more than just a passing glance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance. I hope you 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 still feel small when you stand beside the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. Promise me that you'll give faith a fighting chance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, and dance, I hope you dance. 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 I hope you dance.
Whew, Jennifer and Kent, thank you. My heart is dancing on the inside. Love their music. Let me ask you a question. Do you feel hopeful? Do you feel that life is good? You know there's a t-shirt company by that name, Life is Good. You may recognize their logo, that familiar flower with the words underneath it. And some of us will remember the kids here at Mile High Church selling those t-shirts out on our patio as a fundraiser for things like going to camp. Remember those days? We gathered together. Some of us even dared to hug one another. I'll be so glad when those days come back. Well, ironically, recently, times were bad at Life is Good, thanks to the pandemic. About 50% of their revenue was coming in from retail stores. Well, those stores were closed, they canceled their orders, they could not pay for the inventory they had on hand. And so the two brothers who started Life is Good were seriously having to consider bankruptcy. This pained them deeply because so many of the people in their company had been together since the 1990s. Let's go back to about 1994 when those two scrappy brothers from the outskirts of Boston started the company. You see their picture here looking so happy. They're now in their 50s, but back then they were two kiddos making t-shirts and selling them out of the van they lived in. They were selling their shirts at street fairs and farmers markets and making a little bit of money. They wanted to see where it led. Well, growing up, Bert and John Jacobs were the youngest two of 6 kids raised in a family that oftentimes struggled. To make matters worse, when they were in elementary school, their parents got in a near fatal car accident. They were lucky to survive. The mom recovered fully eventually, but the dad never really did. Forever he lost the use of his right hand and his forearm. He became embittered. He was given to fits of anger, and his temper was very unpredictable. So life wasn't all that good back in those days in the Jacobs household. But the mom believed it could be. She was hopeful, and she reflected that hope out to her family. She started a practice whereby at the dinner table each night, each kiddo would share something with the whole family that happened during their day that was either positive or funny. Well, these were kids, you can imagine some of the stuff that came up. But what really happened at the deeper level was that with that one question, the mom shifted the attitudes of that family from being tense and walking on eggshells and not ever knowing what was going to happen next to being more positive, being more hopeful, being more uplifted. What did Bert and John learn during those days of their tough upbringing? John says this: we learned that being happy isn't dependent on your circumstances. Happiness and optimism are conscious and often courageous choices that you make. Choices. Now they credit their mom with inspiring them for their personal and professional mission and their motto. Their mission, you've probably seen it on shirts too, it's life isn't perfect, life isn't easy, life is good. I love that. I've modified it. I use it for myself. It goes something like this. Life doesn't always feel fair. Life doesn't always seem easy, but life is so good and so precious. Do you believe that? I do. Do you remember last week in Adventure in Faith number 4, Josh shared with us the state motto, the state of South Carolina? It's, while I breathe, I hope. Well, I have been breathing and living in hope for the last 7 years. It was back then that I was surprisingly diagnosed with lung cancer. It was stage 4 on the day it was diagnosed, and I was not expected to live this long. The odds actually were 94-1 against my living this long, but here I am, living and loving and reflecting the hope out that I hope I have many more good days and decades. And I agree with Bert and John that hopefulness, having our hopefulness reflected inward and outward, is a conscious choice. And we make that choice based in the rock-solid reality that we are spiritual beings first. And from that, we can co-create with Spirit. We can co-create our attitudes. We can co-create kindness and compassion. We can reflect what we receive from Spirit out to the world. I believe that the creative ultimate presence deep within us, the essence of us, makes that possible. And yes, life is good. But this is not some Hollywood kind of glee and delight, hey, let's make a deal kind of a thing. No, that doesn't even feel realistic in November of 2020. That's irrational optimism. You know what might work better? Rational optimism. It's that optimism that is truly based in us as us and works for us as we go through our lives. Genetic researchers have found at least, and this is just to date, they have found at least 340 genes that outpicture for us to be happy and hopeful. And really, when you think about it, it makes sense in terms of evolution. You know, what would encourage us to get out of the cave and go look for food? We had to be hopeful about that, or we might just stay in the cave, starve to death. That's not too good for survival of the species. So we have that innate desire to be happy and to be hopeful. I like what Anita Moorjani says about having this deeply embedded within us. You probably know the story of Anita Moorjani. She was a woman who got cancer in her 50s. She got very ill with it, went to the hospital, was clinically determined to be dead. She was in a deep, deep coma, though. She was kept on life support, and she went on to the next realm. She stayed there for 30 hours, experiencing all there is, experiencing Spirit Divine. She came back a changed woman, cured, feeling very whole and complete. And here's what she said. Now, I'm not talking here about a belief that you should stay positive all the time. No, not at all. I am talking about something much deeper. It is an inner knowing that we are much more than physical beings. We are spiritual beings. We are spirit. And we can live from that spiritual well of knowing that hope springs eternal for us, for our families, for the community, for the world. And that spring never goes dry. But you know, we are spiritual beings first and foremost, having a physical, biological existence. And sometimes the ways of the world get to us. It might be physical or emotional or mental or spiritual, relational, financial, occupational. A lot of stuff can get us down. I know I was down in that place where things look a little bit hopeless and you feel a bit of despair. For me, it was 19 months ago. Through some testing, it was found that the cancer in my lungs had moved to my brain in 3 places. And really, I was in the dumps. It was a tough place, it was a dark place, and I could feel in my gut that it just wasn't a good place for me to stay. It wasn't good for me on every one of those levels. It wasn't good for my immune system. It wasn't a place where I could rest and recharge and repair and rejuvenate. So it was truly a practice what you teach moment. And so I opened up my Science of Mind and Spirit toolkit. It's full of strategies, as you know, and I started employing them with renewed, restored hope. I started meditating in a different way, using prayer, using intention, using visioning, using deep, deep connection, befriending the mystery, all of those wonderful tools we have at our disposal. And I came up out of that. And I did waver. But you know what? Spirit never does. It's steadfast, and it keeps supplying us and supporting us with an instant, constant, abundant supply of all we really need. Air and water and the opportunity to co-create with all of these fantastic options we have for creating more kindness, more compassion, for reflecting more hope out into the world. Oh, I want to close this circle. Did the Life is Good company go bankrupt? Almost, but not quite. You see, they have weathered some really big storms before, as we have, as Americans who've lived these last 26 years. They made it through 9/11 in 2001. They made it through the deep financial recession of 08, 09. They made it through the Boston Marathon bombings in their hometown. They've made it through 6 presidential elections. And now they are surviving through the global coronavirus pandemic. What can we learn from their bumpy, rocky journey? This is what Bert says about that. He says, yes, in bad times, we get creative and we grow. It is when trouble strikes that people are seeking optimistic and hopeful messages. They want to be uplifted. They choose optimism as the most powerful choice on earth. Now, I wanted to test their new system. They went from selling things in stores to selling everything online, custom made, when you order it, and it works. I have a new t-shirt. So life is good. I believe that to the core of my being. I believe it because it's based in the rock solid reality that we are spirit first, and that spirit restores us and allows us to reflect our hope outward in the form of that compassion and that kindness. That being able to face things realistically and then address them. And there is one story I want to share with you that I think demonstrates this perfectly. It's the story of love in a paper bag. Now there's a contractor, and his name is Jeff Owens. Here's his picture. And he was really frustrated back in April when his local grocery store kept running out of bread and toilet paper. He couldn't do anything about the toilet paper. But he, as a contractor, had built a pizza oven in his backyard. And so he repurposed it, and he started baking bread, loaves of bread, putting them in paper bags, sharing them with his friends and family and a few neighbors. Well, word got out to those people, and they started signing up online, lining up outside in front of his house. And a group of them really wanted to help him with his efforts. So they came together, gave themselves a name. The name is Breadheads. Breadheads. Isn't that great? And so the Breadheads started helping Jeff out. To date, they have donated flour and seasoned wood and a 20-quart mixer, and they even fixed the gasket on the oven door because it broke. They were using it so much. But wait, it gets better. The Breadheads then had friends called the Breadhead Buddies, and a few of them were firefighters. So firefighters would come over. They started picking up an extra 54 loaves of bread and sharing that with people at senior housing communities. But wait, better still, the people who were receiving the bread out in the front of Jeff's house wanted to start giving back. So the Breadheads and Jeff put a big Salvation Army style kettle out front, and people started filling that up with donations. One more time, gets better. And so Jeff and the Breadheads have started sharing those donations with people who are out of work due to the pandemic. To me, that demonstrates reflecting hope inward and outward. It reflects the realism of seeing an issue and doing something about it. It shows that we are indeed made of spiritual stuff, and we can come together in compassion and kindness and do good things in the world around us. I want to share one last thing with you. I was privileged to visit Children's Hospital last year, and it was a joint research project between Anschutz and Children's. And our guide that day, our host, was a doctor named Barbara Fredrickson. And as we toured around the hospital, it became very apparent to us that the families there are dealing with such heavy stuff. Their kids have pediatric cancer and serious illnesses and spinal cord injuries. And someone in our group asked Barbara, how do they do it? And Dr. Barbara answered, she said, we've studied this, not just at this children's hospital, but across the country. And we find that it's a 3-part mixture that helps people get through the toughest of times. It is realism and hope and that compassion. And I think that's what we can reflect out into this world, coming from that deep place of spirit that we are in, as, and through us. Let us pray. Oh, in this space, in this time, we know that we are indeed of spirit, and we show up as spirit and for spirit. We know that that is truer than anything else about us. We know that there is nothing Absolutely nothing that can distance us or diminish that or disease that ever in our lives, ever. Because the truth is that we are intimately connected, made by Spirit, sustained by Spirit, supplied by Spirit with that instant, constant, abundant supply of all we need. I speak my word for all that we can reflect hope to on this Veterans Day. We can make peace within ourselves, peace with those in our families, our communities, our state, and indeed our precious country. I speak that word for unity and for harmony on every level, personal all the way to national. I bless all of those veterans who said yes to the call to duty. I bless all of us who answer the call in this day to show up as love, to say yes to compassion, to reflect what we feel, that God-given peace in our hearts, to reflect that out to others as we move forward in an uplifted, renewed, outstanding way as we reflect hope to the world. Please join me in saying, and so it is. It is time now when we get to be generous. It's time for the offering. You know, there are many ways to make your offering here at Mile High Church. You'll see some of these on the screen. You can text 45888 or go to the website, milehighchurch.org. And I just want to say a word about what your generous gifts, tithes, and offerings can do. For one thing, it allows myself and my co-facilitator, Kay Johnson, to offer a lot of what we do in the healing ministry at low cost or no cost, our Wednesday night support group and the healing intention circles, and our class now with 40 people in it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And now along with me, as you would, hold that close to your heart or that intention close to your heart and say with me, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all I circulate. Jennifer and Kent.
On a clear day, rise and look around you, and you'll see who you are. On a clear day, how it will astound you that the glow of your being outshines every star. You'll feel part of every mountain, sea, and shore. You can hear from far and near a world you've never heard before. And on that clear day, on that clear day, you can see forever and evermore. from far and near, a world you never heard before. And on a clear day, on that clear day, you can see forever and ever and ever and ever
Oh, thank you so much, Jennifer Burnett and Kent Rautenstrauss. What a delightful night. Beautiful music together. Thank you, thank you. And Reverend Linda, beautiful job on that message. I just love her stories and her personal sharing, so powerful. So we hope that you felt inspired and uplifted and have stayed in that field we talked about at the beginning of the service, and hope that you will continue to join us for things that we've got coming up here at Mile High Church in the next week. This coming Sunday, I'm going to be speaking about kindness. My talk is called Let Kindness Win. And so if you've been wanting to experience greater kindness in your own heart, your own life, or you'd like to see more of it in the world, I hope you'll be with us Sunday morning for the 10 a.m. service online. And Saturday, we're very excited that Dr. Patty's going to be offering her Navigating the Holidays workshop. It's a wonderful opportunity to increase your sense of joy in the holidays, especially if you've been through loss. Now, a lot of times that kind of a workshop is for people who've experienced the transition or passing of a loved one into the next plane of life, and you may have been through that, but I think a lot of us have experienced a lot of grief and loss this year. So this workshop is a no-cost workshop. We're offering it to anyone who'd like to take it. It's online, and you can register for it at milehighchurch.org. And of course, it's the wonderful Dr. Patty Lukenbach, so it's going to be great. Next Wednesday night, we're excited to have our Wednesday night service right here again at 7 o'clock with Reverend Masando Hiroka, and so please join us for that. And as we go forth tonight, just take a moment to take another deep breath with me, and we go forth in love and light, feeling that high hope, that sense of the goodness of life is pouring through us, in us, and as us right here and right now. Until we meet again, life is good. We let it be. And so it is.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I